welcome. This is Michelle with PaperStampInk. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. So today I'm going to share with you this adorable little sloth from the Back on Your Feet cling stamp set, and I did this turtle in the previous Fun Fold card. I'll put the link for that up above, and I just couldn't get put the stamp set away without playing with this sloth because he's just adorable, and I have a thing for sloths. I have a few of them around my house. In fact, my cat Sid is named after Sid the Sloth from Ice Age. So, you know, how could I put this stud away without paying homage to this cute little sloth? And we're also going to do some dry embossing. So let's go ahead and get the embossing done first. And if you're not familiar with dry embossing, that is done by using a plate, one of these embossing plates, and this is one of the really deep ones from Stampin' Up! That gives a ton of texture. So you're going to put your sheet of paper in and line it up with that line to help you make sure it's nice and straight. And then we're going to bring in the Big Shot machine, and because this is one of the thicker embossing folders, I'm only going to need a top plate. So different machines have different sets or ways that they're set up, so make sure you're paying attention to what you're called a sandwich is for your machine. But we're going to put this on one and just use the top plate, roll this through. I love this. It's like magic to me. Every time you get this flat piece of paper, you roll it through and you get all of this texture, and it's just such a quick way to add interest to a card. And I don't know why sometimes I don't get them out as much as I should, because it's so quick and easy and it makes a big difference. So I need to start doing that more often. So I've gone ahead and done some of our other punching and die cutting for us and cutting of paper. So I've got this soft seafoam card base. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. This piece was 4 by 5 1/4 to create our layer. And then I have a piece of 4 by 2 pattern paper and 4 by 2 1/4 pattern paper. And then I've cut or punched a couple of pieces out of that same lighter soft seafoam with this leaf punch. And I think a leaf punch and a flower punch, as well as your circles and shapes, are just necessities for in your craft room, because there's so much you can do with them. So let's go ahead and get this part put together so that we can have this out of the way, and then we'll get to the stamping. And I'm going to be using bringing in some of my blends to do some coloring, but of course you can use your whatever medium you prefer to color with. You can use colored pencils, watercolor, markers, whatever you have on hand. I just thought the blends would be fun to play with. So this one lined up okay. I always like to, before I put a layer down that has an embossing folder, I always like to double check that my paper didn't shrink too much, because sometimes that embossing can actually shrink your paper down. And so this might have been a little bit long, but it looks like we're okay on that. So we'll go ahead and adhere this on to this panel and come up about, it's probably about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. There's not a exact amount, it's whatever look you like. And I am going to rub over this, because with that raised embossing, there's not quite as much surface for the glue to grab. So I'm going to be a little bit more generous and apply a little bit more pressure than I normally would. And we'll go ahead and put that matting layer on the front. Press that down for a moment. Now let's go ahead and bring in our cute little sloth. I'm going to use my soft suede ink and go ahead and stamp on this pre-cut circle. I used my stitch circle dies, and I want that off to the edge there, so it looks like that branch is coming in from the side. And let's go ahead and didn't mount up my little sigh stamp. And put that on. And I'm going to put that up to the top there. And then we're going to actually use the sentiment. Sometimes that's all there is to say, and that I'm here for you. So I thought that was a sweet sentiment. We're going to put that on the inside of this card. And I'm going to try and line this up without getting my head in the way. And, well, I messed that up. This is where I should have brought my stamp positioner in. But you know what? There's always a way to fix that kind of stuff. And actually, I have another little circle die cut, an extra one that I had here. So we're just going to do this. Going to stamp right on there, and I'm going to make sure I give that some good pressure this time so we get a good inking. And put that right in there. There you go. Nobody knows. They just think that's an extra decorative piece, unless you guys tell them, and you're not going to tell them, right? It's our secret. Always ways to fix those cards. So this guy's pretty easy to color. So I feel like I've got a lot of different colors for something that's fairly simple here, but I wanted to make sure I had some lights and darks in case I needed all of those. So this is the it's called Ivory. Make sure I've got the right one. Yep. But I don't know if it's a little darker than what I would call ivory. To me, it's kind of a lighter brown. Now it will dry lighter than this, but yeah, I would like it to have been a bit lighter than it was. I'm going to come in here and put my light crumb cake and color in the sloth, trying to make sure I stay in the lines here. I'm not so good at always coloring in the lines. Maybe that's a patience issue. I don't know. But I just want to get it done fast sometimes. There we go. And one more leg, and then just a little bitty bit sticking out from that bandage. And then I'm going to come in here and add some yellow. This is the Daffodil Delight, and it's so small I'm not going to spend time doing shading. We've actually got those nice lines already in there in the stamp that gives us some definition. And let's get our branch. I'm using the dark crumb cake for that one. And get this little bit of the branch there, and then I'm also going to use that to color in this part of his face, the mask kind of look. And then I'm going to swap this over and use the bullet nib tip to just add some color on those claws there. I like that we get the two ends, the brush end, which I feel is a little bit easier to do the blending with, and also of course covers more area than the others, but also the bullet nib to get in those tight spaces. So I'm going to come in on my sloth here, and I'm going to add a little bit of shading, and I'll bring back my light crumb cake to pull that into the body of the sloth. So just so it's not such a sharp, harsh edge. There we go. That gives us a nice little shading for him. And I'm going to come in and put that second layer on his face. And then we've just got these leaves to do some coloring on. So let's do some soft sea foam for the base on the leaves, and then I'm going to come in with the let's try the old olive light one, and just to give a little bit of different color on those leaves along the veining. And there we go. So I'm going to take my punches that we have here and figure out about where I want them to be on the back. And I could use my adhesive, but to me this is just easier to come in, and if I kind of have them where I want them, to just stick a piece of tape there. And actually I want them to come off the side here a little bit more, and that's gonna hold them in place nice. And then we're just gonna glue this down. I could put some dimensionals on, but I think I decided I'm just gonna put them straight on there. There's so much dimension in this back panel that it also already kind of has some raised spots to prop that up. So there we go. There is our back on your feet card with the sloth and our fixed mistake on the inside there. So I hope that you found this helpful, and make sure you grab your paper Stampin' ink and do something creative.